And she said, "True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from." Lie.
Yep.
"And when the gate was about to be closed at dark, the men went out." Lie. "I do not know where the men went out." Lie. "Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them." Lie. Told 4 lies. And she is in the hall of faith. Joshua, son of Nun, sent 2 men secretly as spies. "Go view the land, especially Jericho." And they went and came into the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, "Behold, men of Israel had come here tonight to search out the land." Then the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, "Bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out the land." But the woman had taken the 2 men, hidden them, and she said, "True, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from." Lie.
Yep.
"And when the gate was about to be closed at dark, the men went out." Lie. "I do not know where the men went out." Lie. "Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them." Lie. Told 4 lies. And she is in the hall of faith. So the connection is obvious. They both did things that legally, from a law perspective, would not be right.
Correct.
They lied. Abraham was going to kill his son. I know that's not right.
Yeah. Well, not to mention that there's 2 stories in there where he lied that said Sarah wasn't his wife. There was a lot of lying going on.
Well, right. But I'm saying, I think James is capturing what he's going to get in detail with in James 3 about the spirit that God has put in us brings wisdom.
Correct.
Because I told you, you're not going to understand the book of James if you don't understand why Proverbs was written, what Lady Wisdom is about Jesus becoming our wisdom, which is a direct quote from Paul in 1 Corinthians. He is our wisdom. Jesus turning the law on its head on the Sermon on the Mount, kind of mirroring as the new Moses. He's like, here's what that was really all about. You know that it's written, don't murder. But I'm telling you, if you're angry, just as bad. It's written, don't commit adultery. But I'm telling you, if you look lustfully at a woman, just as bad. That's why James puts in the middle of that. If you keep the whole law, you stumble at one point, you miss it. Why is that right in the? We didn't really talk about that much, but why is that in there? I've used that verse wrongly in Bible studies by just saying people who think they're pretty good, and I'll read that. That's not the point. I'll never do that again either, because I'm misusing that. He's making an illustration that faith in action sometimes doesn't look like what you think it does if you're listening to the voice of God, as Abraham was and as Rahab was. So I'll keep reading. That was a little rant on that. But I'm saying they're so similar in what they are, but they're so different in who they were.
Yeah.
Which is his overall point about everybody made in the image of God, and he'll use anybody. All right, so then in verse 5 it says, "And when the gate was about to be closed at dark," there's your gate about the pool, Zach.
Yep.
"The men went out." All right, I don't know where they are. Pursue them. And then verse 6, "But she had brought them up to the roof and hid them with the stalks of flax," whatever flax is, "that she had laid in order on the roof. So the men pursued after them on the way to the Jordan." Well, they weren't theirs. They were at the house.
She did the old, it was the old bait and switch on the guy.
This is like a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally make a movie about it. "And the gate was shut as soon as the pursuers had gone out. Before the men lay down, she came up to them on the roof and said to the men, 'I know that the Lord has given you,'" this is really a beautiful speech,
it's really good,
"the land, and that the fear of you has fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away before you. For we have heard that the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came to Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, and these other places, whom you devoted to destruction. And as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted, that there was no spirit left in any man because of you. For the Lord, now here's the
money statement.
For the Lord your God, He is God in the heavens above and on the earth beneath. And so all them times that you think, why didn't people just believe this miraculous acts of God all through these stories? Well, here's one who did.
Yeah.
She looked around and thought, there's a God, and He's alive.
That's right.
And He is enamored with these people here, and He is a liberator. He's freedom. But she concluded.
And this is a huge moment for her because she's in a culture that believes there's a God in everything. I mean, polytheistic. I mean, This is totally out of her, what she would have been taught, what she would have been living, all of it.
But that statement, which is missed in our modern culture today, that there is a God and He is the God of the heavens above and the earth beneath.
Yeah.
Oh, powerful. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that as I've dealt kindly with you, you also will deal kindly with my father's house. And this is the first time you're hearing this story, Israel's fixed to invade them and take them down. And this is a famous story, what happens. They march 7 times and the whole city falls down, all that. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord. I read that. And give me a sure sign. So she was... Not only was she being unashamed and bold, having this conversation, she's like, I want a sign of this, that you will save alive my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death.
I like that she was standing up for her whole family, which is what Abraham, she had in common with him too.
Which is why you're in this chapter of realizing the value of people,
right,
and ultimately God. If you do not tell this business of ours, then when the Lord gives us the land, we will deal kindly and faithfully to you. I skipped over that part. The men said, our life for yours, even to death. They said, not only are we going to protect you, we'll risk our lives. Which, look, same theme as Abraham putting his son, his life at risk. Now, God told him. It was a little different situation. But here, if she gets caught, she's dead. And now the Israelite spies saying, we'll give our life in order to protect you. See how this contagion is going on about how this should be lived out practically? Just think how graphic these stories are. And what is the illustration he's using? He's saying people are coming in here and they don't have nice clothes on, and you're not even giving them the time of day.
Yeah.
You're telling people to go be well and warm and well-fed. You're not doing one thing to help these people. It is the literally opposite of someone willing to risk their life for another human being.
Yeah.
And you just looking at people like they're just like, that's what, now we're getting into what he was talking about. So then I'll just read the rest of it to get the conclusion, because it's good. There's also another couple of signs about this being hooked up to Jesus, because in verse 15, then she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was built into the city wall, so that she lived in the wall. And she said,
remember, the gate was closed; they couldn't get out any other way.
True. Go into the hills, but it'd make a great scene in a movie. Or the pursuers will encounter you and hide there. Look at that, for 3 days. You think it's just a coincidence? Until the pursuers have returned, then afterward you may go your way. The men said to her, we will be guiltless with respect to this oath of yours that you have made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, here's another reference. You shall tie the scarlet cord in the window through which which you let us down, and you shall gather into your house your father, mother, brothers, and all your father's household. Then if anyone goes out of the doors of your house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we shall be guiltless. Now this sounds a lot like the Passover, when there was something red on a door frame protecting the house, which was the blood of a lamb that would later Jesus would mirror.
It's another sign of the crimson gospel.
Yep.
And one of the things that was interesting, Jase, about this is I imagined when I've taught this text before about what that was like. Because remember, So you can't go out. Like, you don't know when this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So they're waiting for this judgment that's coming on Jericho. And so, people had to still think, okay, I'm going to try to run down here and grab something, but you got to hurry back. She's trying to keep all her family that she loves in that room because you don't know when this thing is going down. Well, that would have been not easy to do.
Oh,
we know
exactly.
how family is.
Exactly. She saves the day, saves her family, winds up marrying an Israelite. I mean, she's mentioned 10 or 12 times in the Bible. And even though she wasn't an Israelite, became part of, as you pointed out a couple of podcasts ago, in the heritage line of Jesus himself.
Yeah. She was a great-great-grandmother of David.
Which is another interesting thing, that unlike what they would normally do as far as genealogies and heritages, which just listing the men, one of the, either Matthew or Luke, I can't remember which one off the top of my head.
It's Matthew.
Matthew has five women in there,
right?
Which is why we brought up the point.
And they were all women who had scandalous things about their lives, which was interesting.
Exactly. So I mean, what a story! It literally should just make you change your whole behavior in the Lord, how you treat people and how you view the potential of people in Christ.
These were ones I wrote down because there's obviously differences about, which a lot of commentators will talk about the differences between at least how Abraham was viewed in Jewish history versus Rahab. But these were some I wrote down. Both were called to leave the comfort of their home and surroundings because, I mean, for better or for worse, Jericho was all she knew. But she left there. When this thing was destroyed, she and her family were saved, but then she had to wait outside the camp for a certain period of time, and then she was, we call it proselytized is the word, into the Jewish faith, which then put her in the lineage. But like Abraham, he was called out of his, where he was to go to a land that he didn't know. Both were tested and risked their lives and their families' lives. Both did and passed the test. Both were rewarded with blessings and salvation in spite of their flaws and lifestyle issues, and we mentioned that. Both were prominent in the physical royal lineage of Jesus, Matthew 1. Both came from pagan cultures, and both were outside the Mosaic covenant. So it's really interesting. There's a ton of similarities between these two, and you've made some other subtle points, but James, he didn't pick these two by accident. I mean, there is a culmination.
Not at all.
Of the idea.
Because what's happening in the New Testament is that you are seeing Jesus prophesying the end of the old covenant being fulfilled in the new covenant, which is Christ. And so when you get to the book of Romans, for example, you see all this talked about when Paul says that now the new covenant, the way that you actually attain righteousness is by faith. And it's one of the reasons why he says Israel never attained it. In Romans 9, he says that they didn't attain it because they pursued it by works and not by faith. When the Gentiles pursued it by faith. And so he's just describing what that is. I mean, this is the unfolding of the kingdom of heaven on earth now. And you're seeing that play out in the entire New Testament. But what James, I think his role is in this book is he's showing, what does that actually mean to live by faith? Like, what is it actually? He's just describing what it means. So that's why he goes back. So there's all kind of that imagery in there, particularly or even around like non-Jewish people being included in the Hall of Faith in Hebrews 11, or even in the genealogy that the Christ came from in Matthew chapter 1. Like, there's a lot more going on here and very strategic in how he brings these two individuals together.
And I think it goes back to a big picture that we talk about all the time, and that is that faith is about choosing, but then it's also about living. And a lot of times people don't grasp that concept, like somehow we can't make that choice. I mean, Abraham made it, Rahab made it. James's whole point is once you choose, this is the way you're going to go. The only way we know whether you really chose the right thing is then what comes next.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it came from a relationship with God and a relationship with people that didn't look like a system of law.
Yeah.
because they both broke the laws, the
Yeah.
written law.
Yeah.
Lies and murder is wrong in any law.
Right.
It's wrong. But somehow this was okay.
Right.
Not only was it okay, it's celebrated with what y'all said, Hall of Faith.